he would have said, I love my son, it's my only surviving child from my first marriage, I honestly don't know many Americans who would disagree with him. But that's not what he said.
Hunter's laptop tells you the story. You don't have to be a journalist.
Do you actually support what Biden has done?
Absolutely, 100%.
Wow.
Guys, oh, my beeper's going off. Girdusky's a bitch. Oh.
This is giving me a very bad reputation of female comics that people already don't think are funny.
I raised millions of dollars for that campaign. I did not find out until after she lost. $2.5 million was spent on Oprah.
Opportunistic grifters like Lindy Li, who has posited herself as someone who actually cares about American democracy. No one has to pay you. It's all about influencerdom, right?
Now you're changing your story. Don't change your story.
That was fun. Is it like that every night here?
It can be. It can be. With a single flick of his presidential wand, Joe Biden protected Hunter, his son, from ever facing federal charges for any crimes he committed or even may have committed over more than a decade. The sweeping and extraordinary breadth of this magic trick has staggered supporters and opponents alike, even casting a spell of silence over the most notable defenders of the indefensible.
I got nothing for you on that.
Can I follow up on that? Are you concerned with the lack of transparency, lack of honesty around Biden's decision in the car?
As I said, I got nothing for you on that. Nope. Gonna say
that pardoning anyone on the way out of office, family members, sets a poor precedent.
Thank you. I've got nothing for you on that.
But the question is, they talked about January 6th pardons. This is a playbook for incoming President Trump. Isn't this a problem? Did he not establish a bad precedent for pardons?
I got nothing for you on that. Any other subjects?
Never thought the day would come when Chuck Schumer had nothing for us. Nothing. But what could he say? This is the problem for the Democrats. There are no other subjects right now that anyone wants to talk about, and there will be no other subject when the outrage machine sputters into life to ransack President Trump's wave of pardons in the new year, which is inevitable. Even Gavin Newsom has broken ranks, telling Politico that he took Joe Biden at his word and cannot support the decision. In other words, he trusted him, got lied to, and feels betrayed. It's a total subjugation of the Democratic moral high ground, a rout. Just a few wearied soldiers remain, wandering listlessly across a deserted battlefield.
I respect it as a parent. I understand why he would do it, but I wonder to understand why lie about it for so long.
I'd stop calling it a lie.
Okay.
No, Whoopi, it is a lie. And Biden lied and lied and lied himself. And he told his press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, to go to the White House press room and lie to the world's media again and again and again. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't something he suddenly thought of. He'd obviously always planned to do this. But Biden repeatedly and emphatically said to the world on camera he would not pardon Hunter, his son. He was the adult in the room, the last bastion of democracy and constitutional norms, the staunchest defender of a justice system that treated everybody, as he said, as equals under the law, and that nobody would be above the law, except, as it turned out, his own son. Biden lied because it's an election year and the hypocrisy is inexcusable. Unless, of course, you are the poor aforementioned Karine Jean-Pierre.
You have said repeatedly yourself since the election, the president has said for months, no pardon was coming. I wanted to ask you, could those statements now be seen as lies from the American people? Is there really a credibility issue here given now this announcement?
First of all, one of the things that the president always believes is to be truthful to the American people. That is something that he always truly believes. And if you see the end of his, I assume that you've read his statement, and you look at the end of that statement, and he actually says that in the first line in the last paragraph.
Unbelievable. Here is that last paragraph. Biden said, for my entire career, I've followed a simple principle. Just tell the American people the truth. Here's the truth. I believe in the justice system. But as I have wrestled with this, I also believe raw politics has infected this process and led to a miscarriage of justice. There's no old shortcut in journalism. If you want to cut to the actual truth, don't believe anything before the but. You can't simultaneously have faith in the justice system and believe that everyone is beholden to the law, but also believe it's corrupted and beholden to politics. Joe Biden flew 7,000 miles away from this crisis of his own making to give a speech in Angola, Luckily, it won't take him long to get home.
I'm probably the most pro-rail guy in America. I've ridden over 1,300,000 miles on a daily basis to my work, 220 miles a day for the last 50 years. Well, I didn't do it as president. I stayed in the White House a lot.
You didn't travel 1.3 million miles a day, did you, Joe Biden? It's embarrassing. This is the leader of the free world still. This is the president of the United States. As I speak, there's breaking news. Apparently he's fallen asleep during a meeting with African leaders in Angola. The Telegraph and Forbes both reporting he was visibly dozing. It's a farce. But it's worse than that, because Joe Biden presented himself as the opposite of Donald Trump, who he called a liar, a hypocrite, a shameful opportunist. We all remember what he called Trump. And then, by pardoning his son and making him above the law and making him unaccountable to the law, Biden proved himself to be a liar, a hypocrite, and a shameless opportunist. I think I speak for both Democrats and Republicans when I say that January the 20th can't come soon enough. Well, join me now to discuss all this is the founder of the 1776 Project PAC, Ryan Gidursky, the streamer Destiny, the co-host of Verdict with Ted Cruz, Ben Ferguson, and host of the Bituation podcast, Francesca Fiorentini. Well, welcome to all of you. Destiny, let me start with you. You got anything, or are you taking a Chuck Schumer defense?
No, I think if a pardon is going to exist as a presidential power, I think this is the perfect time to use it.
Really? Even when you've told the world repeatedly, I'm not going to do that, and that everyone should be beholden to the law?
I think the mistake, if Biden made a mistake, it was to say that he wasn't going to do it.
You think?
Especially after seeing the nomination of people like Kash Patel, I think it is absolutely in good prudence to use it here rather than allow Hunter Biden to be the subject of infinite investigations for the next 4 years of Trump's presidency.
You mean how the liberals put Trump through all the criminal investigations?
Well, no, because Trump has criminal immunity from the Supreme Court, and all of his federal court cases are now dismissed, and the case in New York never had a sentencing and probably won't get one. So, no, that wouldn't be the same thing.
You seem very phlegmatic about all this, Destiny, when inside you must be hurting. Because what Joe Biden has done with one flick of his pen is he has taken away all the high moral ground that the Democrats could have had against Trump for the next 4 years. Because Trump can now pardon who the hell he likes. He can pardon every January the 6th protester. And he can do it in the sure knowledge that the moment people like you go, this is an outrage, how can you do this? He goes, you know what? At least they went to prison. Hunter Biden didn't do a day.
This is the two of the easiest questions in the world. Pierce, one, if he doesn't pardon Hunter, do you think that influences Trump's decisions at all and who he pardons next?
That wasn't what I said. I said
yes.
it removes your ability.
Absolutely
no, Destiny.
Number two.
It removes.
Number two.
Hang on. Let me answer number one first.
What have Democrats gotten for the moral high ground for the last 4 years?
Let me answer number one first. In answer to number one,
yeah.
Huh? In answer to number one, my point to you was, if he does, and I'm sure he will, you on the left have absolutely no way to now play the high moral ground because your guy, the president, did it even worse.
What is that? What is the high moral ground? We're down a Supreme Court pick. We lost the 2000 presidency to another Supreme Court. The president now has infinite criminal immunity. What is the moral high ground gotten the Democrats up to this point? There's no point in engaging in norms when only one side upholds the norms. And to sit here, you want to talk about a farce, to pretend that Donald Trump's future pardon decisions are going to be based on who Biden decides to pardon is hilariously stupid. And if you want to talk about pardons, something that you never will hear, why not talk about some of Trump's pardons? How much time do we give to the pardon of Bannon or Stone, who was pardoned for crimes that were literally related to covering up other crimes of Donald Trump?
Destiny.
How many people care about that? Nobody. Where's the accountability for that? Nowhere.
You know
and
the
what's
difference?
the result of those investigations? They're all canceled. So
you know the difference?
No, I don't want to hear anything about Hunter Biden's pardons. It's a joke.
How many days in prison did Stone and Bannon and those guys do?
I'm pretty sure. Didn't Stone get clemency before he ever stepped foot in prison?
Yeah. He was sentenced to 40 months in prison, and then Trump pardoned him.
The day before, he got clemency. Also, forget Stone.
Paul
Forget
Manafort
Stone.
was
It's
on
not
his
about how
way
much
to
time did
serve.
Stone spend in prison. It's about Donald Trump evading responsibility and culpability because Stone didn't have to testify about him. He said it publicly. He said, "Oh, Donald Trump, why would I squeal on the president?" And then he didn't say anything to Congress. He told another witness not to. And then when he got convicted of all those crimes, Trump said, "Oh, I'll pardon him." So don't talk about Hunter Biden's part. It's an absolute joke.
But of course, the reason that Joe Biden, we're bringing Ben Ferguson here, the reason that Joe Biden seems to have started this wide-ranging, all-encompassing free pass for Hunter from the year that he began at Burisma, where he had no experience, to be earning $1 million a year on the board of an energy company in Ukraine when Joe Biden was the vice president, literally put in charge of American-Ukraine relationships, is that it may well cover other crimes that may have been committed in relation to that, which might have led to the big guy, as people have reported, who might end up being Joe Biden. So in a way, you know, he's providing a blanket immunity, which I know Destiny's very upset about immunity, to the Biden family here.
Yeah, look, I think Hunter Biden's pardon was much more than just Hunter Biden. Forget the corruption of Hunter Biden for a second. I think this was the pretext, and I'm going to make a prediction here, to a mass amount of pardons that are about to be coming down from this White House in the closing days of this administration, because they put together a list of people they believe have probably broken laws. They put it out there in the media over the last 24 hours, and they're justifying his brother and anybody that took money with the Biden last name, anybody that was corrupt at the FBI, anybody that was going after Donald Trump. The list, and they're trying to say that it's somehow Donald Trump's enemies list, so therefore we are justified in handing out pardons to everyone that was involved in the Biden crime family or abusing their power to go after Donald Trump. And so I don't really care that much about Hunter Biden's pardon. Of course, this was always going to happen. This is a man that abused his and exploited his own son's addiction to make the Biden family more money. They didn't give a crap about Hunter Biden. They knew they were funneling money to a drug addict, and they knew that could cost him his life. They didn't care because they wanted the money to keep coming into the Biden crime family. I actually feel sorry for Hunter Biden. I feel sorry for a guy that has a father and family members that say, we've got an alibi. He's a drug addict. We'll say that's the excuse for the crimes that we're committing and the money laundering that we're doing and all the bank accounts and all the money coming in from Romania and Ukraine and coming in from China and from Russian oligarchs. And they said, this is how we get away with it. We'll sell out America, the highest bidder, to the most corrupt people in the world, and we'll get away with it by saying, oh, he was a drug addict, he didn't know what he was doing. That is abuse of a child. It's really sad.
Okay, Francesca, you've been grimacing there, but are you grimacing because in your heart you know that Joe Biden has done a massive disservice to everybody on the left here with an act of utter selfishness?
Oh, I'm grimacing just because I was imagining Ben Ferguson and Ted Cruz putting out a joint holiday card, and I was wondering if they wear matching pajamas when they do that. Do you guys do that, Ben?
I don't understand exactly what
is it
that
holiday
has
sweaters
to deal
or
with.
is
The
it
idea
pajamas?
that you have a president that abused his power and exploited his son's drug addiction, put his
Where are
life
the
at risk
charges?
to make
Where are
money,
the
and you're
charges
talking
for-
about
where are
a
the
damn
charges for that?
Christmas card.
Oh, I
Where are
was
the
just,
charges?
that's why I
Those
was
are a lot of
smiling. I
fantastic
mean,
charges. Where are the
Piers was
charges for
asking me
these
why I was smiling, but in my heart of hearts, Piers, oh man, I wish I could give you just the tiniest little violin so you could strum it there in your studio talking about the death of democracy. You know why Biden pardoned his son? It was to troll you.
Because he's
it
a
was
scumbag.
to troll everybody. And you know why he didn't? He said he
didn't
wasn't
troll
going
me.
to, and then he did. Because he doesn't
didn't
remember.
troll me either. He sold out America.
He
the
didn't
highest
troll me.
bidder. Like,
What he did was he trolled his own side because you all queued up to
Thank God
defend
he's
him
not
as
going
being
to be president.
he was the good.
Thank
remember,
God he's not going to be
in
president
all the
anymore.
debates we've had this year, he was the good guy. Trump was the liar. Trump was
Are
the
you kidding?
hypocrite.
In whose
Trump was the
mind? In
shameless
whose
guy.
mind? Your
Trump was the
mind?
nepotism guy. And then in one moment, Biden proved actually he's just as bad. He's exactly the same.
How
and
is
he will,
the
and
Hunter
he will
Biden
weaponize.
pardon? How is that
and he-
comparable?
and he
How is
will-
that comparable to Bannon or Stone?
Sorry, and the idea that he is using the idea of the justice system being weaponized against his family is laughable, given that
Thank
Biden
God he's not going to be
has helped
president,
direct
Piers.
the weaponization
Thank God
of
you've
the
got
justice
one
system
month left.
against Trump for
Wait,
a
you
year.
have no proof of that. What, do we just lie here? Is this just a show where we just tell lies?
Well, Joe
Where's
Biden
the part
lies.
where,
Yes,
where's
yes,
the
haven't
part
you
where
been
Joe
on?
Biden directed the DOJ to do anything? Where is that?
Well, you think the entire weaponization of the American justice system against Trump in the last year, Biden had no involvement whatsoever?
Do you have proof of that?
I don't need proof of it. It's obvious.
I don't.
Okay, so hold on. So it's so obvious. Wait. So to be clear, it's so obvious that this DOJ is being politicized and used by Joe Biden, the same DOJ that went after his son.
Yes.
The same DOJ that appointed a special prosecutor for when Biden had classified documents. What are we even talking? Do we even know how the government works in this country? What are we talking about right now?
All right, let me bring.
They gave him a sweetheart deal. Wait, Piers, we got to go back to the fact that the only reason why he was actually prosecuted was because he was given such a ridiculous sweetheart deal that a judge actually stood up and said, this is abuse of power. I'm not going to accept it, from Biden's Department of Justice, saying this is something I've never seen before. It is unprecedented. No, I'm not going to allow a deal for Hunter Biden that is this sweet. No, I'm stopping it. And he stood up to the Department of Justice under Joe Biden, who basically said, we can do whatever the hell we want. We can sell out as much as we want to the worst actors in the world, including Russian oligarchs who are best friends with Vladimir Putin, that gave millions of dollars to the Biden crime family and then funneled it through shell companies with 150 plus suspicious activity reports that were reported from American banks.
Convicted of? Ben,
I'm not talking about Roger Stone. I'm talking about the President of the United States of America weaponizing the DOJ.
Okay, let's not all talk over each other. Don't talk over each other. Let me ask Francesca. Francesca, be honest with yourself, though. When you heard that Biden had done this, didn't your heart sink?
Why do you keep talking about my heart? I
care about your heart. I'm all heart myself.
Again, I'm thinking about Christmas cards here. No, but Ben keeps talking about Russian oligarchs. Do we know why Roger Stone and Paul Manafort
Hang on, can you answer my question, please?
Convicted
Hang on, no, sorry, look. I want to take this back to the old-fashioned way. We have a panel. I'm the moderator. I ask the questions. Right, now, hang on. Francesca, why are you ducking my question? Just be honest.
Sorry, I'm sorry. What are you saying? What's in my heart? My heart is he did it to
I said,
troll
did
all
your
y'all
heart
because
sink
now
when
you're
you heard he'd
triggered
done
as
it?
hell.
Because you knew in that moment all the high moral ground the left have had all year with Trump, it disappears.
Absolutely not.
Really?
And if you agree, no, that's my answer, Piers.
Even when he lied repeatedly that he wouldn't do it? Even when Karine Jean-Pierre repeatedly lied that he wouldn't do it?
No.
Even when she dismissively, arrogantly put back the Fox News guys and Pete Doocy, dismiss them? How dare you keep asking me this?
They don't care about law and order.
No, you see, but here's my problem, Francesca. Here's my problem.
But why are you interrupting me, Piers? You're just, you ask me a question, I say no, then you have a problem with my answer? Let me explain why no, instead of keep interrupting me. Okay. The reason is that Hunter Biden has never done anything to me, right? Meanwhile, Steve Bannon defrauded the American people while fundraising for Ben, is it PJs or is it holiday sweaters? You tell me. Paul Manafort lied.
Your fantasy card
Paul
Manafort
lied to
I'll
the
make
FBI.
sure we do that.
Paul Manafort lied to the FBI. Roger Stone also lied to the FBI about being a back
I'm talking about Joe Biden.
Between Piers Morgan, let me finish.
Answer my question, or I'll
Roger
move on.
Stone
she won't answer the question, Piers. She doesn't know how to.
So can both
All
of
you can do is talk about Roger Stone and Bannon. I don't care about them.
I swear to God, dude. Like being on this program with Best Boy and with Dingleberry over here on the Trump administration, that's you, Piers. You've reached your final form.
Dingleberry?
As just one of the little dingleberries in Trump's diaper. You're right there. And it's so sad for you, Piers, because now that Trump won re-election, he's definitely never gonna do your program. And that sucks so hard. Like, doesn't that make you so sad?
You know
and
what makes me laugh about people like you, Francesca?
You're not even going to get invited to Mar-a-Lago.
Francesca, actually, I was yesterday. It doesn't matter. And I will get an interview with Trump, probably at the White House. And when I do, I'll invite you. Sure. You can come and meet him.
No, thanks, my guy.
No, you want to do that? Let me bring in Ryan here. Look.
Ryan.
Yeah, it seems to me that the Democrats, liberals generally, have gone into a weird kind of collective anaphylactic shock, which has now been massively exacerbated by what Biden's done. Because the truth is they cannot handle the fact that this guy they spent all year calling a fascist, a Nazi, the new Hitler, the biggest bigot in the world, blah, 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 has won literally across the board everything. It's set them all slightly nuts. And people like me who basically are in the middle, I'm a kind of centrist, slightly liberal guy, right? I'm not a Trump dingleberry. I've just warned the liberals for years this was going to happen. And now it's happened. They want to blame me. And I'm like, I did try and tell you.
Right. I mean, if you look at the Trump victory overall, there's a wide range of why he lost, from woke culture to racism, misogyny. I mean, it runs the gamut. But what's really interesting about this this pardon is what Biden is saying in the pardon versus what Democrats who are supporting Biden and protecting Biden or making excuses for him are two entirely different things. Biden is saying that what Trump has said for years is true, that there is politicization inside the Justice Department. And that is a damning account, because politicization in the Justice Department was completely a partisan issue. Democrats for 4 years said it wasn't happening. Republicans said it was happening. And here's the Democratic president saying, no, it happened, but it happened against my son. I think that the scope, I don't listen, if he would have said, I love my son, it's my only surviving child from my first marriage, I honestly don't know many Americans who would disagree with him. I would feel sympathy for it, but that's not what he said. And the scope and the length into which he has given this pardon, 11 years for everything. It is a full pardon for anything. It draws the question, what else was he doing? There was $24 million from foreign countries, including adversaries, through 20 shell companies. There's probably more. There was the issues of Hunter receiving millions of dollars in free legal services, in representation. There were probably appointments. And where does it end?
Okay, Destiny, here's the problem. Not a problem.
I'm just curious. Because I don't know all the time. Do the people who cover politics, are these like actual news people? Like, what is the background here on this show?
What's your point?
When you have people talking about, like, the Democrats have never said.
Just go look at his laptop. He gave you all the info. Hunter's laptop tells you the story. You don't have to be a journalist to look at the story.
Where are the charges?
Where are the charges, Ben?
I mean,
Ben, where are the charges?
big.
They've been investigating Hunter Biden for 4 years. Where are the charges? I thought we were going to get impeachment charges from Jim Jordan. Where are the charges for Hunter Biden?
It's a great question. I can answer that because I
scope
actually read
into
it.
which they looked into Hunter Biden was very narrow.
The DOJ made sure that the statute of limitations on the worst crimes that dealt with the tax issues were outside the statute of limitations. So if you go talk to a lawyer, they'll explain what that means to you. But the DOJ
I don't need to talk to the lawyer. I've read the documents. Thank you. I'm not illiterate.
You asked the question. You asked the question. You said, where are the journalists?
You just made
I'm
things that sounded like FARA violations. You're telling me the FARA violations of him illegally accepting foreign money, of him taking bribes and having money go, that the statute of limitations is what, 2 years?
Don't talk over each other, please.
I'm going to finish it again. He never registers as a foreign agent, and the statute of limitations that ran out on that for what was going on. He never dealt with the tax issues and didn't have to, because we know deliberately that they purposely slow played to make sure that the worst crimes were going, and the DOJ did this. The timeline is clear. They would expire, so they couldn't charge him with those crimes. The reality is, the reason why the Biden administration is now having to go back and say who else needs a damn pardon is because there was people abusing their power to make sure that the only 2 crimes that they charged Hunter Biden with could not be connected to the big guy. The gun charge didn't connect the big guy to any actual crime. And that's a fact. And the tax charges where they did charge him dealt outside of any of the money coming in from the money laundering. So the Department of Justice ran interference and said, we'll make sure we investigate this. Oh, crap. The statute of limitations ran out. Even if we wanted to charge him, we couldn't charge him with the crimes. And that's why the White House is saying, holy crap, who the hell needs another pardon here? It's that simple.
Okay.
And go read the laptop.
Easy question for you then. Right? So the reason why Mueller was appointed was because an actual obstruction of justice was Donald Trump firing Comey to try to stop the investigation into his illegal activity.
You have the right to fire who you want to fire when you become the president. You should have fired him day one.
What was the equivalent action on the White House and their influence on the DOJ? Give me the equivalent action. Where is the intrusion of Biden into the DOJ?
All right, I'll answer the question simply. If you understand presidential powers, you would understand that you serve at the pleasure of the president, and the president had the right to fire James Comey whenever he wanted to, and he should have done it day one, but he went against his advisors when he did that. James Comey, by the way, laughed on TV about sending in FBI agents because the Trump administration was too trusting too new and too green to Washington to go after General Flynn to try to get dirt on Donald Trump.
So you have
he
nothing.
laughed
You're
about
lying.
it on
You have nothing.
stage.
You have nothing. Flynn lied to the FBI.
About it
You have
on
nothing.
stage.
That's
the guy that you want to defend
Donald
right now?
Trump's
Are you kidding
meddling
me?
in the DOJ. There is no equivalent to that on the Biden White House, which is why what you just said was a bunch of nonsense.
Then why
You
are
serve
they
at the
talking about giving pardons out to so many people?
Court has now made that
Then
criminal
answer me this
activity
question.
legal.
Hang on.
Answer this question then.
Hang on. Destiny, you say that the Biden administration has done nothing to meddle with the DOJ. He has literally pardoned his son, who's been convicted of criminal offenses. That is.
Why did you just say bingo? What do you think a pardon is? How is a pardon meddling in the DOJ?
You don't think it's meddling with justice?
Because the DOJ and the judge even said yesterday that this was the most despicable abuse of power. Go listen to what the judge said, who's not a conservative judge, who wrote a scathing rebuke of the Biden administration's abuse of power after there had been a conviction for his son. Go read what the judge wrote, and you might understand.
I'm sorry.
Wow,
Do you
this
think
is a
that
bad
when does a
precedent.
pardon happen if not after a conviction? What do you think a pardon is for? Is every single pardon?
That wasn't my point. My point, Destiny.
Please, let me say this. If it's this is the
Let
part
Piers
where
talk.
you
You have no
need to
idea-
listen to what you're saying. No, listen to what you're saying. You just said that you only give a pardon when someone's been convicted. If that was true, they wouldn't have just given a 10-year absolute pardon to Hunter Biden for a bunch of crimes he committed in case he is actually investigated for the damn crime.
The whole point of issuing that pardon
you're wrong.
is to make it so that you guys can't spend the next 4 years playing Hillary's emails with Hunter Biden. That's the whole point. Because that's what you guys do. Like you tried with Hillary, like you tried with Benghazi and failed over and over and over again with all these bullshit investigations. You do like you've done now with Hunter Biden.
Destiny,
like you did with Ken Starr and Bill Clinton.
Hang on. Destiny, to be clear,
Destiny, in the House, that's going to bring in peace charges to Joe Biden and has nothing. But here you are, still speaking
calm down.
The same lies about the Biden crime family.
Destiny,
what did I lie about?
Hang on, please. Can I get involved here? Destiny, a question for you, which is Gavin Newsom, who was one of the most vocal supporters of Biden, even when everyone else was chucking him under a bus. Even he has come out and said he cannot support this decision. Do you actually support what Biden has done? Do you support
Absolutely, 100%.
Wow. So actually, in the end, you do support lying, hypocrisy, and shamelessness, and obstructing justice. You support all those things.
No. What the pardon of Hunter Biden is a trillionth of what Donald Trump. It's not even close.
And if Trump had done this, to Donald Trump Jr., you'd have said the complete opposite. Anyway, look, let me segue to
in Donald Trump's administration. After they tried, after the traitors, over here that support Donald Trump tried to overthrow the government in 2020. After they tried to overthrow the government and failed, people like Eastman and Giuliani were asking to be put on the pardon list.
All right.
Okay.
They were
okay. People that were involved in the J6 attack. And guess what? When he does, Piers, you're going to have a 20-minute segment on it, and you're going to move on to see if you can dig up something else about the Bidens or Kamala Harris.
No, I will
I
go
just think
after.
it's sad because you guys are all just jealous that he's massively endowed, and so it's his
Sorry,
dad.
hang on.
Anybody else.
Francesca, sorry, what was that?
I was just saying, I mean, the only crime, I guess, in Ben's eyes that Hunter Biden really committed was showing just how well endowed the Biden family is. And I can see from Ben's perspective how that, might feel like, a crime against him and his
defending a
manhood.
man that abused women, like as a woman, you should at least understand that there were
paying
women
for
that
sex
were
work
abused
is abusing
sexually.
women. I don't think so.
I would
were they
say
17?
yes.
Were they 17 and trafficked over state lines? Nah,
when
man.
you're trafficking women and getting them addicted to drugs, that's
You mean
abusing
Matt
women.
Gaetz?
If you want to
mean
say
Matt
that that's
Gaetz?
good, that's on you.
Look, here's the difference between the pardons between Trump and Joe Biden, right? Number one, Joe does this to troll y'all, and so you have something to talk about. But number two, the people that Donald Trump pardoned not only included everyone who allowed and helped him to back channel with the Russian government in the 2016 campaign, like Paul Manafort, like Roger Stone.
We're back to Russia collusion.
They didn't even get in trouble.
Are we really back to Russia collusion? One of the great.
Because it actually.
We're back to Russia collusion, which was one of the great lies
Jared Kushner's
of
father,
that whole
Charles
period.
Kushner. Charles Kushner is now going to be the ambassador
We're
to
going
France.
full conspiracy theory now.
He also pardoned the Blackwater
this is why we won,
employees
Piers.
who murdered 14 unarmed Iraqi civilians that we know about thanks to Chelsea Manning whistleblowing, right, and to WikiLeaks. He pardoned those monsters. He's pardoned a lot of people, and so those people arguably
Piers,
have
did
had
Donald
more impact
Trump
on my
ever
life
pardon his own
than Hunter
kids?
Biden and his laptop. And $1.4 million in tax evasion, Piers, you know you do that like on a Tuesday. Come on. Wait, hang on. Guys, oh, my beeper's going off. Girdusky's a bitch. Oh. Girdusky, I think this is for you.
Is
I'll
this
call
like
him
a
back.
comic? This is giving me a very bad reputation of female comics who people already don't think are funny. I don't know. I think the problem right now.
Except I just own your ass. But you look really cute in your sweater.
You didn't. You made a very lame joke that was like 3 weeks old. Congratulations. You're very funny.
I thought you
I
were
think that the problem right now with the Biden.
Tell me about your joke again.
Sorry, Destiny?
Okay.
Will the two MAGA people here, will you guys defend when Donald Trump pardons the January 6th rioters or anybody that was convicted in connection to the January 6th stuff? If he goes for the seditious conspiracy people, will you defend that pardon?
Ryan?
I've said this before. I'll say it again.
Well, let me bring Ryan in. Hang on. Let me bring Ryan in on that one.
I think with the January 6th, you're talking about several hundred, if not several thousand people. And I think the question is I don't think that he should pardon anyone who did something violent. I don't think that attack, but I do think that when you look at the sentencing and how some January 6th people have been treated is remarkable, considering some people have solitary confinement for months on end. People are treated much worse doing a January 6th stuff than a murderer. So I do think that depending on what they are accused of and what they have been tried on, I think a pardon could be warranted. I don't think that anyone who violently attacks somebody should be pardoned, though.
So if they go to pardon the people convicted of seditious conspiracy that weren't involved in direct violent activity, you would support those pardons?
I'd have to see the individual case. I don't really know. Particularly, it's not my beat.
You don't know
about
about seditious conspiracy charges. Some of the first in decades. It's unbelievable.
I just said I'd have to look. I just said I'd have to look at them individually.
On the Hunter Biden pardon, and they don't
even
know.
What a great idea.
I don't know who was convicted.
Read about the individual cases.
I have no idea.
Before you decide.
I'll tell you what. Let Ben answer Destiny's question.
Yeah, I'll go back to this. If you look at each and every case, and you look at how they were throwing the book at everybody, there are different people that did different things. If you attacked a police officer, you deserve to be in jail for that. If you're an 87-year-old grandmother that was walking around outside the Capitol and they hunted him down and put him in jail and they didn't do anything violent, you do not deserve to be in jail for that, even if you're charged with the word seditious in any of the complaints. There are different cases and different people. And there was clear abuse of power where they walked in, they said, anyone that we got that day or anyone we have on video, even if they were nonviolent, even if they weren't doing anything, even if police officers let them into the Capitol on video, they overcharged them, and there are many people that deserve to be pardoned. If you attacked a police officer, if you broke through a door, if you were doing things like that, you absolutely deserve to be in jail for that. And it goes back to an idea. You look at each case individually and you decide based on each case individually before you do a pardon. That's what I'm in favor of. It's not insane to say I would want to look at each case to see what they actually did compared to what the government lied and said they did. There's a big difference.
Okay, hang on, please. I'm going to bring in Lindy Li.
Is it on your beeper?
Hang on a second.
Is it on your beeper you're going to say?
Hang on.
Read your beeper again.
Hang on. I'm going to bring in Lindy Li. I'm bringing in Lindy Li, a member of the DNC Finance Committee, who's been highly critical of the Harris campaign. Lindy, good to see you again.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, where are the Democrats, Lindy? I mean, after the Joe Biden pardon, this is probably the last thing Democrats would have wanted on God's earth.
I'm going to have to agree with you. This is 11 years. The pardon covered 11 years. It was sprawling. And I think, the next one we should watch for is possibly him pardoning James Biden. Because 11 years not only covered, his presidency, but also his VP time and also Hunter's time during Burisma. And it's just so incredibly ironic. And I'm speaking as a Democrat, that even Democrats and members of the intelligence community said that laptop was just a made-up story. Now, in one fell swoop, Biden basically proved his haters right. that there was something in that laptop. And I hate to say it, but it's just true. This is just a black eye to his legacy.
By the way, on the laptop, let's not forget the New York Post had the laptop scoop, and liberal-controlled big tech at the time, including Twitter, Facebook, and others, they suppressed that story from being published. In fact, hang on. In fact, the New York Post, because I write columns for the New York Post, for 2 weeks before that election, their whole Twitter account was suspended because they refused to take down a legitimate, true story, as it turned out. That is an appalling attack on free speech, an abuse of the First Amendment, and actually it could have swung the election. Who knows? If that laptop story had come out and been properly forensically examined by the media, it could have tipped the election Trump's way. 40,000 votes.
40,000
votes in the end decided that election. So hang on, I'm still with Lindy. I'm still with Lindy, Francesca. Wait one moment, please. Just play me your buzzer for a moment. Thank you. Lindy, here's my point, is that it's not just about Hunter Biden being dragged into something. The laptop contained evidence of crimes, and it was suppressed from the media in that 2-week period before that election. And that is a much bigger picture than whether Hunter Biden got pulled into politics.
Right. And I think this is not just an act of love. It wasn't just a father's compassion. It was almost perhaps even an act of self-preservation, because we don't know what happened in those 11 years. It's covered everything from 2014 to December 1st, 2024. So this whole thing is gigantic. And I think in the next couple of weeks, we're going to see more pardons coming out. I think this is really just the tip of the iceberg. My guess would be that he might even pardon people who were involved in Hunter's business. Who knows? I'm guessing
they've been investigating Hunter for 8 years.
All right, let's bring in Francesca. If she's put her buzzer down. Francesca.
8 years. Where are the charges?
There are none.
Statute of limitations, bro.
They started the investigation 8 years ago when they had the laptop. What do you mean statute of limitations?
You go back to when the crimes were committed.
Hunter Biden sat on a call and he said, "I'm here with my father. You know, we expect you to follow through." He basically shook down a Chinese business person.
Oh my
He did it time and time again.
Can I ask you a question?
And even a venerable medical media institution like CBS said that 10% to the big guy can't be anybody but Joe Biden. And I hate saying this.
Oh, I didn't know CBS was part of the DOJ. Is CBS going to bring charges?
We lose all credibility if we do not acknowledge reality.
Oh my God.
All right.
Let me just say, Lindy, you lost all credibility. What
sane.
happened to you, dude? Who are you? I don't even know. Lindy Li's out
She's
here. She's been like the face of the resistance for so long, and now she's coming on these programs making this rightward turn. It's pretty disgusting. You've got millions of followers. She's absolutely doing that. I don't even know.
Hang on, don't all shout, please. Don't all shout.
You don't even.
Francesca, have your say.
You don't even believe what you're saying.
Hang on, please. Don't all talk at once.
Super sick.
Time out. No one can hear you when you all shout over each other. No one can hear you.
I don't even care. I don't even know you, but you are so embarrassing.
No one can hear you when you all talk at the same time.
I know, because
please stop talking
for myself.
Francesca,
Francesca, and now you're heel turning because your side.
Francesca,
that's
stop
so
talking.
Sick.
No,
no, for God's sake.
Yes, that's exactly what you're doing. That's exactly what you're doing.
But that doesn't mean that I'm just going to go on national TV and lie for him.
Who's been kind to you? Oh, nobody's asking. Oh, is that what you've been doing? Is lying for Biden? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I just said that I'm not. I refuse to do that. I'm here. Piers Morgan invited me. I'm here to tell him the truth. I owe that to him, to his viewers. I'm not going to gaslight anybody.
You are so embarrassing.
Was a bad idea.
This is why Democrats suck.
When you all talk over each other, nobody can hear you.
I'm talking.
Sorry, can I just please have a moment of quiet? Please,
like
panel.
Lindy Li here.
Panel, just to be clear.
I haven't made a single penny from anything that I've done.
Please be quiet, all of you. When you all talk, nobody at home watching can hear a damn word any of you are saying. So you can keep doing it, and I'll just end the whole thing, because it's pointless. Now, Francesca, if you've got allegations to make about Lindy, make them now, and then Lindy, you respond. Let's do it the old-fashioned way, where people can actually hear a damn thing you're saying. Francesca.
Okay, quickly, and I mean no disrespect. I just feel that it is so funny that the Democratic Party has also surrounded itself, like the Republican Party, with honestly opportunistic grifters like Lindy Li, who has posited herself as someone who actually cares about American democracy, spotlighting the threats that Trump has posed and will continue to pose to the American people. And now that the Harris campaign lost, which I think was definitely their election to lose, given just how much Trump was like not even trying, and he didn't win by the popular vote he won by less than 50%. Harris dropped the ball. Lindy Li was all in on the campaign. And now she's pivoting because she's like, you know what? I want to go to the winning side. And now the Hunter Biden laptop story is a thing. That's just so craven and so pathetic. And I'm someone who has not received a single dollar from the Democratic Party or any
Neither
institution
have I.
to talk about my views.
Neither have I. Have
You
you
have
made
made
so
much money off of it.
Now I will
And
let
it's
Lindy.
so pathetic.
Now
It's
I will
pathetic.
let Lindy respond. Hang on, Lindy. Hang on, Lindy. Hang on, Lindy. I will now let you respond.
Tell me one person who's paid me.
I don't know, girl.
Who's
I don't
paid
know.
me?
You tell me. Who's
You're just
paid?
making
You
up
tell
shit.
me.
You're just making up shit. Are we allowed to curse on here?
Yeah.
I don't need
uncensored.
anybody's
Go off.
money. No one has paid me. You're just making this is like libelous. It's defamation. No one has
obviously
paid me.
no one has to pay you. It's all about influencerdom, right? It's
Now
about
you're changing
using
your
your
story.
name
Don't
and your
change your
brand.
story. Just
Why-
a minute
why is
ago,
your
you
brand
said
changing?
that I was a grifter and I was getting
I
paid.
never
and
said you did. I
so
said
many
I
dollars.
didn't. But
You're
why are
making
you
it up. I
changing
don't
your
know
brand?
who you are, respectfully.
Why are you?
But I have
You
other
don't need to
things
know
say.
who I
So
am.
Gavin
Why are you
Newsom,
changing
who
your
came
brand?
out
No one
against the
does.
pardon, is
She's
he a
a very
grifter too?
unfunny female
Is
comic.
Governor Jared Polis also a grifter for
Ryan.
saying that the pardon was a bad idea because Joe Biden repeatedly lied? If you're going to pardon your son, fine. There are arguments in favor of that. But why did you have to lie repeatedly and say that you weren't? He lied after
lying
the
is
election.
bad.
And in
It's like
terms of
saying
the
that
Harris
COVID-19 is
campaign,
just a
I
cold
did not
and then a
find
million
out.
Americans
Can I
are dead.
please finish the
Lying
sentence?
really
Why
is
do you
bad.
insist on talking over people again and again?
This is mental illness.
In terms of the Harris campaign, I raised millions of dollars for that campaign. I donated buildings in a church to the campaign. I did not find out until after she lost that millions were spent on, for example, $2.5 million was spent on Oprah. $500 million went to just 4 well-connected Democratic firms, including bullying.
Welcome to the political revolution, girl. The Democratic Party won't save you.
I don't know what's going on with you, but can you please let somebody finish? Thank you so much.
Please finish.
And also, and millions of dollars to celebrities. It's in millions of dollars to private planes and also 5-star hotels for campaign staffers. I have donors who donated anywhere from $10 to $25 of their hard-earned money to $1 million. They are fuming. And we had no idea this was going on. The campaign, during the campaign, said that we were going to win 3 to 4 battleground states. That was what we were expecting. Jen O'Malley Dillon went around the world telling people that we were definitely going to win the campaign. But they knew all along, now we know, they knew all along that Kamala Harris was losing. She was behind Trump the entire time. But when she was with us donors, when they were whining and dining us, they told us a completely different story.
They were clearly lying. Let me bring in Destiny about something else. Let's talk about Trump's cabinet picks and 2 of the most contentious. Pete Hegseth in defense, obviously, and Kash Patel to the FBI. Do you believe that those nominations should be approved?
I know more about Patel. The other Fox News flunky is a loser as well. I mean, I
he
would say
served his
no,
country
but I mean,
with great valor. He's not a loser, is he?
That's great. I can think of a lot of losers that have served their country with great valor. Trump has called a lot of them losers, so I don't even know why you would think just because somebody's a veteran doesn't mean that they're not a horrible fit for a particular job. I don't know. I don't know that's what we were doing here. The Patel guy is insane. He wrote a storybook for children about how Donald Trump was the king and evil people were coming towards him with like false claims of corruption. It's just the most insane stuff I've ever seen in my entire life. But I mean, it's on par for Donald Trump. So I mean, if it wasn't these guys, it would be somebody else insane or crazy. It'd be another person under, I guess, an ethics complaint for, I guess, going after minors like Gates, or it would be some other insane person. So, I mean, what are you supposed to say? Yeah. The Republicans have no standards. They are amoral. They have no care for how any of these departments are ran. They have no understanding for how any of these departments are ran.
30 seconds ago. Wow.
Let me bring in Ben Ferguson to respond.
Yeah, I love how they're like upset over a guy that actually served his country who has stood up for veterans and made sure that veterans dealing with PTSD get what they need, and have a government that actually listens to them and doesn't treat them like an old car they throw out back. But 30 seconds ago, after you mock him, you're acting like Hunter Biden's a great guy. Like, it's pretty darn rich. Here's what I'll say about these two individuals. Kash Patel is a guy that was being investigated by the federal government when they were going after him, trying to connect him to a fake Russiagate issue. And the only reason why I knew that there was abuse of power happening at the DOJ and the FBI is because he was told by Google 5 years later. No one else told him that, hey, by the way, they were trying to get dirt on you and they looked at everything you'd ever done online. That is an abuse of power. I love the guy going in there to stop that type of abuse of power. I think he's going to be confirmed based on the senators I've talked to. They look at what his life work is. They like him. As for Pete, I think Pete's a guy that understands that it's not a good idea just to go to war and not realize what happens to the people you send afterwards. He's been an incredible advocate for mental health issues with men and women in the military. And he's made it clear after going to Iraq and Afghanistan and to Gitmo, serving his country and getting significant awards for battle, that, hey, you come back a different person and we need to take care of our men and women in the military. But most importantly, we don't need to send them into endless wars and or wars that don't make any sense, that have nothing actually to do with America. I thought Democrats would be in favor of that mindset. I'm in favor of that mindset. And if that makes him a bad guy, I'm totally fine with saying, I'll have a guy like that running the DOD. That's perfect for me.
Okay.
Ben, is there a single criticism you have for Donald Trump on the way that he's engaged with, say, the Department of Justice?
With the people he's picking now?
No,
I didn't like Matt Gaetz. I didn't defend Matt Gaetz, if that's what you're asking. I thought Matt Gaetz was a bad pick.
No, in the way that he engaged with his Department of Justice in the past, when he was president, do you have a single criticism for how he did any of that?
I do. I think he should have fired James Comey day one. And I think he should have fired the bad actors in the deep state that were working against him from 16 through 20, trying to go after people like General Flynn and bait them at the White House, thinking they're serving their country, having a conversation with the FBI. And he goes on stage and laughs about it, basically saying, I'm trying to set someone up so I can use them against the sitting president of the United States of America that you're supposed to actually be serving because you don't like him politically. Yes, I will criticize Donald Trump for not firing him day one.
Okay.
Was Bill Barr part of the deep state?
I'm not a Bill Barr fan. Like, I haven't been for a long time. I think Bill Barr is an established. Let me answer the question. You asked the question. I think Bill Barr did not serve the president well. And I think Bill Barr cared more about what people. Let me finish. You asked a question. I'm answering it. I think Bill Barr served Washington well. I am answering it. You just said, do I think Bill Barr? You asked me a question. I'm answering it. You don't like my answer. That's okay. But let me finish it.
No, I asked
Bill Barr had a major problem
when
Bill Barr was there. He cared more about serving the people inside of Washington than the American people or the president of the United States of America. It's that simple. Your job is to serve the president.
Who's he talking to right now? Is he talking to me?
I'm talking to you. I'm sorry that you can't figure that out, bro.
Hold on. I don't know if maybe your earpiece is not working. Was
Check
Bill Barr?
Pager. Maybe you guys have wrong pagers right now.
the Attorney General of the United States of America, of the Department of Justice, was Bill Barr part of the deep state?
I think I just said it a second ago.
You're a coward. You're such a coward. You're such a loser. You're a loser and a coward.
Okay, name calling is like third grade, and I understand that's what you're doing. I'm answering the question, and I'm sorry it's above your intellect. Piers, let me answer the question to you. Let me answer the question to you. Piers, Piers, is the deep state Washington, D.C.? Is the deep state Washington, D.C.? Yes. And I just said, and I'm sorry that your intellectual ability doesn't get you to this level, but I said Bill Barr cared more about what people in Washington, D.C., which is the deep state, thought of him than the American people or serving the president. I just said it again. I even translate it for you. I'm sorry you can't play at this level. It's not my fault.
Simple yes or no question,
clearly you did. You clearly needed a translation.
All right.
Can I just agree with Ben? Can I just say that I do think that Pete Hegseth actually is a good choice to oversee the U.S. military? I think they have a lot in common, just like the U.S. military Pete Hegseth doesn't practice consent, when raping and pillaging other people, and I think the U.S. military does the same thing. They rape and pillage other countries.
You just made an outrageously defamatory comment about Pete Hegseth, which is simply not borne out by facts.
At operating budgets, he was able to tank the budgets of 2 U.S. veterans organizations
you will be sued.
And I hope they
and as someone who doesn't want to see more wars abroad, if he can tank the Pentagon's budget, I am all for it.
You are a disgusting person to say that about someone when
you know
know
what's
nothing
disgusting?
about it.
Disgusting is drugging and raping
disgusting
a
that you just go on
woman
TV and
who
you
was
have
staying
no
in the same
accountability for
hotel
calling
room
someone a
with
rapist.
her
You're a
husband
sick
and
person.
her child
you're a sick
in the
person.
same hotel room. She wakes up, she has no memory of what happened.
I hope they sue
and
you
Pete
for
Hegseth
everything you
paid
got
her
for
an
defamation.
NDA.
You want to play
paid
at
her
the
an
next level?
NDA to
Get ready
keep quiet
to
about
get
it.
sued.
Ben,
Get ready
how
to
many
get
people?
sued.
Number one, Ben,
Welcome to
can
the
you
big
shut
leagues.
up? Ben, welcome to the big leagues.
The big leagues is when you actually
reporting.
talk facts and you don't
Read
slander
real
people on
reporting.
TV, for goodness sakes. God, you're a terrible person. You really
Ben,
are.
I know you feel. Look, best boy.
You just
okay?
accused somebody of raping
I know that he
people.
bought you of.
You're a disgusting human
Piers,
being
can
when
I
you
go
say
back
that
into
with
Hunter
no
for
facts.
1 second?
No,
so
I
you
don't
think
want to go
being
back to Hunter.
accused of rape is more disgusting than raping?
Francesca
Ben?
has
You think being
obviously
accused of rape is
seriously
more disgusting
defamed
than
Pete
raping? Let me
Hegseth.
ask
It'll
you
be
a
up to
question.
Pete Hegseth if he wants to take any action over it. There's obviously no
Ben,
evidence
do you think
he raped
rape is
anybody.
worse
He's
than
not
being
been convicted of raping anybody, as
He's
you
never
know.
been accused of rape
So
or
when you call
convicted
him a
of rape, you're a
rapist, you are
disgusting
defaming
Because
him.
when you
all right?
pay
It's a
people
stupid
I
thing to
hope
say.
you get sued.
Kind of goes
I will, please,
every time
depose
I'm
me in
innocent,
this
I always
lawsuit.
pay people
I want to
off.
be there to tell you what
Every
she
time
said.
I'm innocent, I always have them sign an NDA.
Right, so you think
It's
everyone who
just kind
signs
of
an
par for the
NDA is
course.
guilty, do
Disgusting
you?
person.
Everyone who signs an NDA is guilty of the crime, are they?
Not the person who signs it, but making someone sign an NDA, it's kind of a giveaway.
Actually, no,
Piers.
it's not. That's simply not true in law. You don't understand law. So if you did, you'd understand that's not the
She
case.
doesn't understand a
Sure,
lot
anyway,
of things.
There are
everyone should
NDAs
read-
signed
everyone should
every
read-
day, every hour of every day, all over America, with no admission of any guilt whatsoever,
I
and
will
no
say Pete
suggestion
is
of any
a really
crime.
good choice because honestly, it's not actually rape or war if you were drunk the whole time.
Right,
So
okay. You know what?
when we invade Iran
I
and
hope
he's
keep
drunk the
digging
whole
your
time,
hole.
which
This is
he's
gonna
known
be a
to
It's
fun
a
be,
massive Grand
it doesn't
Canyon-sized
actually
hole, and you
count.
may live to regret
Remember
it. Anyway,
that.
I've got to leave it there. Thank you all very much to my panel. It was incredibly enjoyable, he says, lying. Let me bring in the former Chief of Staff to President Donald Trump, Mick Mulvaney, who's in London. Welcome.
That was fun. Is it like that every night here?
It can be. It can be when you get the more Vesuvian-like members. Yes.
I'm gonna take that clip, and when people ask me why Washington is broken, I have an answer for that, which is Washington isn't broken. It just reflects the country.
Right.
And I'll play the last 20 minutes and say
Yeah.
these are not elected officials. These are just ordinary citizens. So
Yes.
that is the country I live in right now.
There's a lot of screaming.
Yeah.
A lot of people implacably opposed to the other side, not prepared to give an inch. Facts don't really matter a lot of the time, and a lot of heat. What's the answer to that?
Doing better. I do worry about the next generation. I teach a lot of students. I deal with young people, and I am very, very disturbed by their inability to change their mind if they get new information. And that, I think, is a very dangerous place to be. How are those, and I don't know any of those folks, by the way, that you just had on there, but how are they going to be, when they're the leaders of the country 10 and 15 and 20 years now, how are they going to solve Social Security in my country? How are they going to deal with the debt? How are they going to deal with Russia and China and Taiwan if they can't even have a conversation?
You work obviously very closely with Trump. You were Chief of Staff. I wrote a column for the New York Post this week after talking to him last week. He rang me for a chat. I've known him a long time. And I said, I really do feel he's a slightly changed man. I don't think he's lost the pugilistic streak. I don't think he's lost the trash talking or any of the things which make him a unique and divisive character. I just felt that two things have changed him. One was surviving being shot. And I spoke to him the week after and a few times since. I really felt that had a profound effect on him. And secondly, winning such a big mandate, I think in his eyes, proving his point about the 2020 election, which he says he has always said he won. He believes he's now been proven. You see, I told you. I don't agree with him, but he does. But secondly, he's got such a mandate now. He's got everything that he could have possibly wanted. And the people that voted for him came from the white community, the black community, the Latino, right across the board. And in a way, the opposition to Trump is so different to what it was in 2016, where hundreds of thousands were marching, and it was really febrile, the atmosphere. There's an acceptance from the left now. Well, what can we say? And then when you have Biden pardoning Hunter, all the high moral ground you were probably looking forward to having against Trump in the next few years about lying or hypocrisy or shamelessness or nepotism. It's all gone out the window.
Not even that, just the politicization of the Department of Justice.
Right.
Keep in mind, if Biden had come out and said, look, my son was an addict, he did it, he's guilty, I can't stand to see my son go to prison.
Yes.
I think every parent can understand, I have the ability to pardon him, I'm going to do it, I've changed my mind. I don't think anybody would be able to criticize him for that. But what he said was, I'm doing this because he was targeted by a politicized Department of Justice. And that plays right into Donald Trump's hands.
And by the
if
way,
I'm Trump, I'd love that message.
And if that was his argument, then why has he repeatedly said this year and ordered his press secretary to say that he would absolutely not pardon him because nobody's above the law?
Right.
Knowing what he clearly believes about what he thinks is the politicization of the justice.
Right. What has changed between today and the day he
Nothing's
said
changed.
nothing's changed exactly, except that he
Has he
didn't-
torched his legacy, Biden, with this?
You know, Biden, if you go back 50 years, because he's been in Washington for 50 years, he never really had that much of a reputation for telling the truth in the first place. If anybody remembers him in my country from the 80s, it would be for plagiarizing speeches and so forth. And he's a failed presidential candidate several times over. So I'm not sure how much legacy he had in the first place. I think he will go down in history as a Democrat hero for one reason and one reason only, and that is he beat Donald Trump in 2020.
Right.
And that was enough for them.
You didn't think Trump would win again.
No, this year?
You said to NBC News in July, I think he's the Republican most likely to lose in the general election of all the leading candidates. If I go back to 2022, I didn't think he had a cat in hell's chance. It's an astounding comeback.
It really is. I remember, listen, I was against him running in the primary because I thought he would lose. Keep in mind, when he announced his primary in November, I think, of 2022, our Fox News broke away from the speech at Mar-a-Lago because it was so flat. There were, what, 8 or 10 Republicans who thought they could beat him, and I thought he was uniquely positioned to be the weakest candidate that we have. He then got a gift, Piers, when the history books are written, I'll look back at whether or not Alvin Bragg is identified
I totally agree.
as the person most singularly responsible for Donald Trump's re-election, because the charges against him, the criminal charges, were so weak. It not only made people sympathetic to him, it took the argument. Nikki Haley had to come to his defense. Ron DeSantis had to come to his defense. And his message was very powerful. This is the message. You and I both know enough about the business to know you have to be able to do it in short order. And this is his message. Look at what they're doing to me.
Yes.
I'm rich, I'm famous, I'm white. If they can do it to me, imagine what they can do to you. Vote for me and I'll make sure that doesn't happen. And he turned that into a juggernaut.
Yeah.
I did think he would win after the two, excuse me, I'm losing my train of thought, the two conventions, back when it was him and Biden. I thought he'd crush Biden.
And the debate, obviously, where he destroyed him.
It was not even close. So
do you think he's changed? You know him well. When you watch him, do you think you see a slightly changed guy?
A little bit. I thought I saw a lot of it at the convention, the speech he gave at the convention, which was right after the shooting, if you remember. And I haven't talked to him. I've talked to members of the family. I've talked to folks in the inner circle, and they all told me he is a changed man. And I believed it as of the convention. I think as the campaign went on, he fell back into a lot of his old sort of his default settings, which is the rally Trump. By the way, he's a true extrovert. He loves doing this.
He's a good performer.
He's a great performer. He's a great showman, and he draws energy from it. So it doesn't surprise me he sort of fell back into some of the greatest hits, as we say.
Is he will he now use? I mean, I think he probably will, because why wouldn't he? But will he now use what Biden's done in pardoning Hunter to go and pardon a lot of the January 6th?
Probably.
People? Yeah.
I think he's probably going to do that anyway, but I think he's got to. Biden has. Look,
Biden's giving him the excuse he needed, right?
That's exactly right. People are saying, oh, Trump is criticizing him. I'm like, maybe the Trump team is criticizing Biden for doing this and being a hypocrite, and I get that. But deep down, I think they know. I would know if I'm sitting down there, guys, they just gave us a huge win on this because they've acknowledged that the justice system is politicized, and that plays right into our hands.
What advice would you give Trump now? He's obviously inauguration coming up January the 20th.
Yeah.
You know him well. What advice would you give him, blunt advice, about... Because I detected when I spoke to him that he feels the hand of legacy now. He hasn't got to run again. He hasn't got to campaign again. What he's got is 4 years, which he probably couldn't have been certain he would have got again. I mean, most people didn't give him a chance. He's got an unexpected second chance to reframe his legacy.
Yeah, I really think this... I think you mentioned earlier the fact he's got this mandate. He's feeling pretty good. And that's right, and he should. He did something, Piers, and this is going to be a longer answer, and I apologize. He did something that I didn't think anybody thought a Republican could do. He made huge inroads in the African-American community, huge inroads in the Hispanic community. I mean, just numbers Republicans haven't seen since the 1960s. And I think he needs to recognize, if I'm giving you advice, Mr. President, recognize that. There was a bunch of people here who have never voted Republican before. They voted for you. Why? They like you, but they also believe that you are going to fix Washington. So yes, taxes are important. Yes, immigration is important. All those things are important. But really the most important thing you can do in your legacy is fix Washington. These people think government doesn't work for them, and it doesn't. What I think Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are going to do might be the most important part.
I agree. I'm excited about what they're going to do.
I am too. I don't think they can do much on their own. They don't have a lot of statutory authority. I was the last person, by the way, who was in charge of government restructuring, and I failed miserably because everybody was against me. The House, the Senate, even most of the agencies. I remember the Secretary of Defense was against the things the president wanted me to do.
So how do they get around that?
First of all, Elon Musk is a lot smarter than I am. Number two, they're much
very honest of you.
They're much.
He's a lot smarter than most of us.
And he's got a bigger footprint. And now it's a movement, right? When I was doing it, because I was looking at a government that had been created in the 1920s and said we have to fix it. It's not very sexy, Piers. Vivek and I think Elon Musk have the ability to sort of make this a cause celeb to the point where ordinary people are going to care what's happening when they fix the government.
I've heard he's going to do what he did at his other companies and just call everybody in and say, what did you do last week?
Yeah, but he can't, and that's the difficulty.
Why?
I ran a federal agency. I ran the CFPB, which was one of the places they want to shut down. I wanted to shut it down, and I found out after I got there, of the 1,700 people who worked there, I only had the right to fire 7.
Really?
By law.
Does the president have the right?
So the president might have the right to close the building. He doesn't have the right to fire the people.
Who does?
Nobody.
Are you serious?
Congress would have to change the law.
Wow.
Yes. And that's why I think what Vivek and Elon are doing it's a giant, massive PR campaign, but it's an absolutely critical PR campaign. They have to make it so that Congress doesn't have any choice but to change the rules.
Because public opinion will be so heavily on their side.
Here's a great example. I can't remember which agency it was, but it's one of the big named agencies. Just yesterday, the outgoing administration signed a new labor agreement saying that people don't have to come to work after Donald Trump takes over. And that's now in their union agreement.
Incredible.
Please allow that to sink in. If you're a federal worker, you have federal protections against getting fired. And on top of that, you have union agreements that make it even more difficult. So
ridiculous.
That's what Elon and Vivek are up against.
In terms of his cabinet picks, obviously, I mean, in many ways, it's the most diverse cabinet we've ever seen. But it's also by far the most kind of disruptive collection of people.
Yes.
These are not establishment people. No. They are the complete antithesis of that. And I'm actually quite excited to see what non-establishment people do. I've never been that impressed by establishment people, but what do you think? Is it unrealistic what he's trying to achieve here with these people?
I think there's a bunch of different things going on. Yes, it's not unrealistic. And I think he does have some sort of anti-establishment people who are going to go in and start from a clean slate, a blank piece of paper, and that's absolutely critical. But I also think what you're saying, for Sean Duffy, he's a friend of mine. We were in Congress together. He's now going to head up the Department of Transportation. And folks like, well, Sean's a TV guy. That's what he does, right? And it is. I think what you're seeing is Trump, in the first term, Piers was upset that nobody was out there selling besides him, that nobody was doing as good a job selling. So he looked his hand over and said, you know what? We're going to run policy from the White House, from inside the building, but we're going to put people out in these agencies who can come in and do this and talk on television. He loves people who are good on TV, and I think
they're all good on TV.
They're all good on TV. That's a requisite
whether it's
to be there.
Tulsi Gabbard or Pete Hesketh, or I mean, they're all just they're telegenic.
Kristi Noem from South Dakota, she's fabulous, and you're going to see a lot more government officials on television saying, here's what we're doing and here's why. And by the way, I think that plays right into that conversation we had a few minutes ago about the people wanting to fix Washington. They're going to see heads of agencies on TV every night saying, this is what we did to do today to help fix the government, so now it can help you.
Will he get through people like Pete Hesketh? He's coming under enormous pressure.
Yeah.
There's word that at least 6 Republican senators may not support him.
It's always tough when stuff like this drips out, and it makes you wonder who was doing the vetting, because they really should have known about this beforehand, or they might have and just said they were going to roll the dice with it anyway. It's a rule of thumb in Washington that typically there's one person who always goes down. We had one in the Trump administration, Biden had one, and everybody sort of knows that sacrificial lamb. What I can't figure out yet, Piers, is whether or not Gates was that person or not. If he wasn't, then somebody else might go down. I actually think Bobby Kennedy's going to have the biggest difficulty, just because he's not as ingrained in Trump world as the rest of them are. It was sort of a marriage of convenience. Support me in the election and I'll put you in the cabinet. But he doesn't have the long-standing relationships like he does with the other folks.
Where are the media now post this election? Because they're all in, all the late night hosts, The View, all these kind of shows. We've got a clip of Stephen Colbert actually attacking you on the Late Show. Let's take a look. Nostradamus.
I like that one. I remember that. So
look, he's a comedian, but what my argument about them is that they don't give their side the same treatment. And when I talked to Jay Leno at length, we were talking about Johnny Carson and how no one knew his politics. He used to just rip into everybody. So did Jay Leno. So did Letterman to a large degree. This new breed of late night hosts, they're so in the tank for the Democrats. I can't watch it. The View I can't watch because all 6 members of the panel voted for Kamala Harris. What happens to them now? What happens to the mainstream media, given that we've seen Trump in this election using YouTube and podcasters really to get the male vote in a much more effective way than Kamala managed to get the female vote?
Yeah, Trump figured out a way to go around that.
So where does it leave them all?
In 2016, it was in Twitter. Now it's podcasts and so forth. I'm more concerned about what happens to the country. We need a media that does treat both sides like that. It's part of the check and balance, and we don't have it right now. Obama did some things that Donald Trump is going to try and go around the Senate on a couple of his appointments, maybe, okay? And he's going to be pilloried for that in the press. Obama did the exact same thing, and the press simply rolled over and said, "We love Obama. What difference does it make?" And the country's health suffers because of that. Now, that being said, no one watches late night television. They're famous because they're famous. But I think what they're learning
Well, number one now is Greg Gutfeld, who's on Fox.
Yeah, they don't move the needle. I think the people who are watching them have already decided what they think, and they just want to be reaffirmed in what they think, and they're not changing anybody's minds.
Is there any way back for sort of, like the CNNs, the MSNBCs, and the others whose ratings have all crashed? Or are we just seeing a real moment where legacy media's kind of shoved to one side?
So I read a column as well for the New York Post, as you do, and I do a little work for the Hill newspaper and so forth. And there was a major left-leaning media outlet that said they were going to try and get more conservative voices. And I reached out and said, "Look, here's some of the work I do for these agencies." And they wrote back and said, "Thanks very much. We don't have any interest."
Really?
Oh yeah, they're not. It's all lip service.
Yeah.
It's all this faux introspection. Oh, woe is us. We got it wrong. We'll do better next time. They can't. I was at CBS News. First of all, if we had a longer conversation, I could prove to you that CBS News lies about Donald Trump because I sat in on one of the meetings. But I was in the CBS News room just like this on election midterms 2022, and whenever a Democrat announces winning, the whole group just went. The audience, they erupted in applause.
Well, I worked at CNN for 4 years, and I've got a lot of friends there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you could shoot a harpoon around the CNN building and not hit a conservative.
That's exactly right.
I mean, Scott Jennings has had one of the all-time great presidential races because he's taken them all on almost single-handedly, night after night, and he's acquitted himself extremely well. But it was kind of sometimes painful to watch how biased CNN were.
They are not interested in an unbiased debate, right? There's one, I'll plug in for News Nation that I'm doing some work for now that actually is trying to bring people from the right and the left to have.
Well, we do that on this show.
Oh, do you really? I'm not familiar with. Don't follow the show.
I bring in lots of people from both sides all the time, and we get big numbers, way bigger than.
I used to watch you on CNN. So
thank you.
That was the good stuff.
Well, in those days, I used to try and be, impartial because in those days CNN was told to be.
I get attacked from the right for criticizing Trump when I think he does something wrong, and then I get attacked from the left when I applaud Trump when he does something right. I'm like, isn't that what we're supposed to do?
I did 120 columns about Trump for the Daily Mail online when he was president in that 4 years. And when I checked back, about 60-60, positive and negative. It was almost an exact split.
Isn't that what you want?
And I said, surely that is actually what every journalist should strive to be, right? If your tally is 120-0 or 0, in other words, either way, you're either all in against him or all in favor of him. That's not journalism.
My guess is that panel discussion you had on, I hate to beat on this, those folks do not watch any of the same programs, don't get their information from any of the same sources. They live in their own bubbles. They know what they believe. They don't want to be told anything else. And if they heard anything that might suggest they were wrong, they'd simply tune it out or, as they did tonight, talk over it.
Well, we didn't. And thank God for that.
It's a pleasure to have a chat.
It's great to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. I appreciate it.